Life.
What's up, YouTube? It's your girl Dee Dee. Welcome back to the channel. I hope y'all are doing well. Thank you so much for tuning in once again. So your girl is back with another reaction video. In this particular video, this panel is talking about relationships, dating, and they're talking about first dates and how much a man should spend on a first date. And it's kind of interesting and sad at the same time because a lot of individuals, women and men, are single and they can't even get past the first date. They're still having this conversation about who should pay, how much the date should cost. They can't even get past the first date. So it's very interesting to see this all play out and how a lot of women in particular, because, you know, women outnumber men and women are the ones who are doing the most complaining. So I want to get into it. Make sure you are subscribed to the channel if you like the content, share and like the video, and turn on your notification bell to be notified when I upload new content. And definitely chime in. I want to hear your thoughts on this one, all right? So let's go ahead and get into the video. Here we go.
Joe has shared a view in his questionnaire. The first date should be 50-50. It removes obligation and performance. It's not about being cheap. It's about neutralizing expectations. Nobody owes anyone anything, not another date, not attention, not energy. It's just two people seeing if there's a vibe. Joe, would you like to elaborate?
Elaborate,
Sure.
Joe.
I mean, that was a longer sentence than I think I said, but I just think in an ideal world, we're trying to move towards equality on all levels, right? And I think if you start a relationship with someone, with one person owing the other person, even something as small as dinner, it has to come out somewhere along the line in the relationship. That expectation has to be balanced out some way. And I just think it's crazy to expect someone you don't know to already owe you something, because then they're going to expect you to owe them something back. I just think it starts things off on a weird foot. And I think that there's no other relationship in your life. Like if you were meeting a new friend, there's no other situation in which you would expect the other person to pay for you or you would be expected to pay for them.
But the dynamic is different.
It is different, but I think it should start from as neutral a place as possible.
Yep. Both genders. Like if I date a woman, like who's gonna do that? You know, it's like, what's the reasoning behind the man only? The only reason I would say is because of the gender reparations. That's the only way that I would like.
What do you mean by
accept
gender
that.
reparations?
There's a pay gap. So I would be like, okay, there's a pay gap. So it's like you're giving back. So that's my only reasoning.
You should pay for dinner because
Yeah,
you
that's
get
the
paid more
only
in life.
reasoning of that. But I agree with that. Or you talk about who makes more money and then you can decide the splitting of, because women can make more money than the man. Does that mean the man needs to pay more? Like, and then I also don't agree, like, why? Like, it's literally like, why is the man paying? It's all a level of the patriarchy. And how do we dismantle that if we're like, how are women becoming equal if the man is still the one expected to make more money, expected to do the funds and stuff?
Listen, I think she's right on the money. I think it's something, it's one of those things where I say women are delusional because you want to be equal to a man in every aspect, but when it comes to dating and these types of things, you put the pressure on the man to have to pay. The man is supposed to pay. The man is supposed to pay all the bills and do all this. But that was attributed to a society where there was traditional roles for women when women were not working. You know, that's the part I think a lot of women keep ignoring because they don't like that part of it. They want to be equal in every aspect except in that aspect when it requires them to pay. So they still want men to be traditional. And part of the dating rule for the man to pay, the man to be, you know, the chivalrous man and, you know, he's a traditional man, that was all reserved for traditional women who didn't have jobs, who couldn't pay. But we're living in a society where women clearly let you know that they can get to the bag and they're making the money and that they don't need a man. But they don't want to pay for anything when it comes to dealing with a man. See, they brag about being able to pay their own bills, pay for all of their stuff and live a lavish lifestyle. But when a man is introduced, now they want to shift all of that over to the man. And men are saying, no, we shouldn't have to bear the brunt of anything when we don't have a traditional woman. We'll accept you as what you are, but you have to bring something to the table. You're not a traditional woman where you can't work, where you don't work. You actually make money. In some cases, they say they make more than men. So why is it that if a woman makes more than the man is still expected to pay for everything? And I think that is the shift that we're starting to see. And it's taken a toll on dating and relationships because women don't want to give into that part of it. They want to be these modern women who can make money and equal to a man, but they don't want to share in the responsibility. They still want a chivalrous traditional man, but they're not traditional women. So it's like they want their cake and eat it too. They want the benefits of being these independent boss chicks, but they also want the benefits of being a traditional woman with a traditional man who pays for everything. And I think that's the problem. And it's changing and they don't like it. Let's continue.
How would you respond to that? Being as you shared earlier that in a previous episode that you don't mind paying if you ask first on a date.
Yeah, I don't mind paying.
But elaborate, like in response to what she just said, she doesn't understand why men pay or why they're expected to pay.
I mean, that's, like you said, it was a gender norm.
Yeah, that is the reason.
In previous, like in history, men were naturally more of a provider. Like they would go out and get like hunter-gatherers, like we'd go out and hunt and then we'd bring back what we caught or whatever. So it's kind of like the same kind of situation. Like if we're making the money and we can afford to provide this dinner or etc., that we would just...
I don't think those are synonymous, to be
Yeah,
honest,
hunter-gatherer.
And also there was women hunter and gatherers
Yes,
back
there
then.
There were.
Yeah.
I'm not denying the existence of that. I'm just saying that like if there was a norm that was set up...
Yeah, like that's the reasoning, the patriarchy.
That's the reasoning why I'm okay paying if I can afford to pay.
I did want to go back to what Joa said in terms of when you do initially go on that first date, how do you propose that being the standard that you set then?
I wanna know this.
Like you go on the date, you go
No,
on the
that's so
date,
true.
and those are your beliefs or your ideals. How do you set that up for the other person to
Did you do
receive
that with
it?
your girlfriend?
I don't remember, to be honest.
Okay.
I truly don't
No,
remember.
that is a good question,
It was a
because the
while.
women
It was a
in-
while ago.
yeah.
So I don't want to, I'm not saying, I've definitely paid for dates before. It's
Okay.
not like I'm not going to be a dick about it during the date. But the thing is that I generally think it's good advice that first dates need to be cheap to free. And I understand that some
Yes.
people disagree and some people, want a fancy date for the first time. But I think if someone is spending more than $50 on a
Yeah.
first date, that to me says you're kind of irresponsible. Because it means you don't know who the other person is, but you're still just based on their looks or whatever, you're deciding like, this is, I don't know who you are, but you're worth $50. Which, aside from the slightly demeaning aspect of it, it's also just like, you have no clue what is going to happen here.
Right.
Like, why do you think...
Irresponsible is hilarious.
I just think it's like financially,
That makes sense.
if it's a first date, you don't know who it is, you don't know if you're
Yeah.
going to connect, and you're already going to put down money.
Yeah, I agree. I agree that is financially irresponsible. A lot of these modern women are looking for men to spend on these first dates is ridiculous. It's asinine. And I say this all the time. You don't know this person. You're trying to get to know them. So why is the onus on the man to not only take you out? And I think most men, if they offer to take you out, they're willing to pay. Most men are willing to pay. But it should be contingent upon where they want to take you and how much they want to spend. And I don't think women should look at that as a measure of how good of a man or how less of a man he is. The man should decide because he is the one that has to pay. So if he wants to take you to Applebee's or if he wants to take you for some coffee or a drink or a walk in the park with a snack or something simple to get to know you, that should be based solely on his discretion. And I don't think women should look at it and use that once again as a measure to determine if he's a good man or not, because it's his money that he's spending. And if he take you out and there's not a connection and you don't work out, then he's not out of a whole lot of money. So I do think him saying that it's financially irresponsible to spend more than $50 on that person, I agree with that.
Oh my God.
Because if every date that you go on, you're spending $400 and $500 for meals, then that is financially irresponsible because that's your money that you're wasting on something that didn't work out. And see, women don't have a problem with it because they just want the experience and they don't have to pay. And I said this before, if the onus was on the women to pay for the dates, you would see these coffee dates, you would see ice cream, you would see a walk in the park, baby. Because already women don't want to spend money and they don't want to spend money on men because they've always thought that the obligation was for a man to spend money on them, even though they can make money now. Let's continue.
You're gambling before you even know what the card game is.
Right.
I think it becomes a little bit more performative if it's a fancier date.
Well, yeah. Well, because I think a fancier date, you're not in a situation where you're trying to get to know the other person. You're in a situation where you're trying to show off for the other person.
Unless
Or
they're
the other
rich.
person is trying to express that they want a certain kind of environment. But either way, the date no longer becomes about, okay, I want to get to know you and I want us to talk. It becomes about, all right, I want someone who's going to fill this kind of role, whether for the man or the woman. And so, yeah, I think
That
the whole
is
thing becomes
so
more
real.
performative.
I've been on a
So-
date that was $250 was my first date.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Oh no.
How was it?
$250.
How was it?
It was
They paid for it, right?
yeah. Well, he was the real estate agent in my fancy building, so he could afford it. Like it was like
Well, what if also they
was
just make that much,
250.
like they make so
Exactly.
much money where it's like
That's his
paying
standard.
more than $50 is not that deep for them.
And
You know
it
how you
wasn't.
keep that money? You don't
You know,
spend it
and
like
that's
crazy.
why I like people like you. I like people like you.
yeah. But then that was an
financially-
expectation that I was the person that's always gonna, and he's the one that does that, and I was,
Yeah.
and that's what I'm not attracted to that. He's
Well,
too.
so also, like in the dates, did it feel like $250 expectations were set on you?
Like, did you feel pressure to like have to do anything because he spent so much money on you?
No.
No. Okay.
But maybe that's because I'm just so like I will take my fist and shove it up you. You know what I mean? So maybe
He
it's
could have
just
wanted
me.
that. You don't know. We don't know
That
this
is
yet.
true.
Well, I don't think equality exists between men and women as much as we try. I mean, and this is not to say that I don't think women should have the same rights as men. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying naturally, as women and as men, we're just different naturally,
Like
right?
there are different rules that still
Yeah, like
still exist.
women have babies and men don't have babies.
But
So
what
it's
does that
like
have to do with money?
I'm just saying, like in general, we're not the same.
No.
So it's like, and it doesn't mean that women shouldn't get paid as much as men. I'm just saying because you had brought up the idea of like splitting on a first date. Like it's kind of like we want equality between men and women, but then we're coming in and like the scale is kind
It's
of
already
imbalanced,
uneven.
right? But it's
It
like
is.
that's naturally always going to be the case because that's how relationships work, right? Like in the general cultural sense, like men are the hunters when it comes to like courting the woman. Men have to court the woman, right? So in that scenario, at least back then, right? It's usually like, what is it? Survival of the fittest. Whoever's the best man wins, right? So whoever's like putting their best foot forward. So it's like,
But that's not biology though.
how's that not biology?
No,
I
Because-
actually read
Well,
something.
yeah,
like
part of it is socialization, but it is
Yeah.
informed. What
Yeah.
you're saying is like,
Biology, like literally the ducks and the like animals, they be like,
But innately, it's not biology that men are more assertive and women are more submissive. That's not a fact. And
well, I mean, I didn't necessarily say that
That's
women
not
are
what I
more
understood
assertive or
from you.
but
submissive.
I see what you mean.
Yeah, just men, they usually are.
Yeah, but I think that dynamic is slowly changing, especially with changing times, the way that women are, how women are responding to the dating scene, their expectations, and other things. So I think when women want to lean on that idea of the man being the hunter-gatherer, the assertive one, the one who's approaching, but as we see, there are many women complaining about men not approaching women anymore because things have changed. The women have changed, which therefore changing the dynamics. You know, there was chivalry at one point where men were chivalrous to women because that's the way that they were told that you need to be chivalrous to a woman. You have to be a gentleman to a young lady. But as we see now in this modern society of dating, a lot of women don't really like that. They complain about not getting things from men. You know, we just had Valentine's Day and they're not getting any flowers or anything. But there are so many women who don't like flowers. They don't understand the chivalrous nature of men. They think it's corny. There have literally been women who have said that they thought it was corny for a man to open the door because they were not used to that type of treatment. They thought it was corny to get flowers. They thought the things that a lot of men who were gentlemen were expressing and doing, a lot of women looked at it as corny. And then you had this feminist movement where women say, we don't need a man to do anything for us. We can do it ourselves. Why do you think I'm incapable? So when men would open the door, women would like, oh no, don't open that door for me. You don't think I can do it for myself? So men push back. Men said, okay, well, damn it. I didn't say you, I'm just trying to be a gentleman, but women push back against that. So now men don't even want to do that. Men are just hands off. Like, I'm not even going near you. There was a lot of issues concerning women on the jobs to the point where there's been articles of men speaking on not being comfortable working in a work environment with women or being left in a boardroom or meeting with just women because women were on this Me Too movement, thinking that men were trying to come at them and making false claims of what they felt and what they thought. So now men are backing up. Men are saying, okay, we want no parts of. We're not going to even approach. We're not going to even get in your space because we don't want no problems. But women now at the same time are still saying, what happened to the men? Why aren't they like this? Why aren't they approaching? As if they don't realize what the agenda or the what they put out there. They don't, is as if they don't remember what they've said, what they've done, how they've reacted to men. And now that men are responding, they act like they don't know what happened. You know, like what? Why? But there's a reason why men are moving in the way that they're moving. And I don't think that it's ever going to fully go back to this whole chivalrous traditional way. I really don't think it's too much that's happened. And while women are seeming oblivious to what's happening, men are not. And so I just think as much as women complain and to try to, act as if they don't know their parts, it's showing up because men are moving accordingly. And a lot of men are not chivalrous. A lot of men don't want to deal with women. They don't even approach. They're not trying to because of the nature of how women are thinking. So this whole idea of men, I think the men who are chivalrous and the men who pay for dates and all that, they're already in relationships and they're already married. I think for the single people that are out here, they're going to have a hard time because men are just not, men are responding to what women have put out there. So I don't think it's ever going to be quite the same, or it's never going to be exactly what women want it to be, because women want men, regardless to how they're changing and what they're doing, they still want men to be consistently chivalrous, traditional. They still want men to just be continuously the way they've been while they're constantly changing. And I don't think that that's working. Let's continue.
Patriarchy,
what would
though.
you?
No, I think I kind of agree. I, in that sense, do think that men should typically pay. I'm not opposed to paying. Like, I've paid for full dates. I've split the bill, even in the beginning of my relationship, all the way up to now. But the first date, it's like, I do want to be courted or wooed a little bit. And that's not to say that I want someone to spend a lot. My first date was a day in New York, and we took the subway, we walked around, we got like a little bit of sushi that may have been, giving us a food poisoning, but it was fun. And we walked around Central Park. Like, he showed me around New York because I had just moved here, and that created a basis. And if we had met later, like if I was gonna meet someone new, like I wouldn't want a fancy date, but I would still want to be paid for, at least the first date to be paid for.
I would like to say, though, just for the record, men also want to be courted. I know it's not a thing that comes up often.
That's why I'm like, I'm totally okay with paying for a date as well.
No, I'm not going men's rights activist. That's not where I'm going.
Lives matter, man. There are certain roles, and yes, some of it is because of history and the patriarchy, and other are just kind of like what we fall into, because there's never going to be true full equality, even though for things like salary, it could definitely be.
Yeah.
So would you go on a second date with someone who asked to split the bill?
I would think about it. It's not a definitive no. Like the 50-50 wouldn't be the decisive factor in me being like, oh, you know what? I may or may not consider it.
For me personally, like, no.
No. That would be a red flag.
Yeah, for first date, nah.
It's like a phenomenal date. Like
So
it's
wait,
a great
so
guy.
like lovely, amazing date, right?
Like love of your life. You're literally like, this is the one.
Like you're like, wow.
Chef's kiss.
The one.
And then at the end, he's like,
let's split because
Good
this is how. Because he
like, you
thinks
see how he said
him.
it? You see how it sounded? You see how it sounded? Cultural context matters.
Absolutely.
So
expand.
I will. So I am Nigerian American. So culturally, there's an understanding that the man usually pays for like things like the first date, right?
Yeah.
So that's also what I've grown up with.
Yeah.
And like if I'll date like other Nigerian guys or even just like maybe West African as well, that cultural norm is already set in there.
Yeah.
So that's why, so when I say, like when you ask me, would I date someone that asks me to go 50-50, this is if somebody that within my culture asked me to go 50-50, then I would say no, because it's already a cultural norm. So that's how I know that's a red flag, because what's wrong with you?
Yeah.
Now, if no, there's no situation.
What culture is it not?
There's no
I tried to
situation.
give it a chance
There's
for
no
a second,
situation.
and I thought
So
about
now,
it.
if I was someone like Joa, right? I know Joa's peoples, all right? They're really good, and there's no stereotype. She's certainly a Joa. Imagine. No, like, Asians are really great with money. I love it. Am I wrong?
No, that's fair.
No, y'all are really great, like really, really great with money. So now, if someone like Joa came along and said, something, maybe let's say we met on a dating app, and it's the first thing you bring up to me, or like, within conversation, because I usually do a FaceTime date if I'm like from a dating app. So let's say we're on FaceTime and then he brings it up like, hey, just so you know, like I would like if we can maybe either do something that's like, maybe a walk in the park, or if we do go out, I would like to split just to manage costs and stuff. I'd be like, okay,
thanks.
I can't
Like
really.
versus like finding out what you're
When
gonna
I'm on
pay.
the
Yeah,
date,
I
yeah.
think that makes a huge
Yeah.
difference.
Yeah, before. I would
'Cause
say
you know
if
what
you're
you're
a
getting
man, you would
into.
have to say
Yeah.
before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, I find that interesting that she would consider it for the Asian guy, but she wouldn't consider it for her own people because she's like, well, what's wrong with you? I think the focus, in my opinion, is too much on the money aspect as opposed to the person. Listen, if somebody took you out for a decent lunch date or whatever and they paid for it, or if they said, hey, I would feel more comfortable if we split this up. Okay, cool, no problem. Especially if I got it, it wouldn't be a problem because I understand what that means. I understand that there's no expectations on either side. But women are looking for an escape. They're looking for, a soft girl era. They're tired of working as hard. They're tired of all of the responsibility being on them. So they're looking for you when you come into to the picture. Now they can rest in their femininity. Finally, they've been masculine their whole lives. So now it's time for them to rest in their femininity with you coming in and just taking on everything. But you got to understand that most men are not in that position to do that. They need some type of reciprocity in some way, shape, or form. Either you're going to be the stay-at-home wife and he pay all the bills. Y'all get 2 trips a year. It's not going to be this lavish lifestyle, but you don't have to work, but you're going to work in the home. Or y'all both going to work outside the home, but you're going to have to contribute financially. And then y'all can build a nest egg together. You know, you're going to have to contribute in some way. And I think for most women, they've been contributing their whole lives by themselves. So when they look at you, you're like the cash cow. And I think this is where women don't understand where men are coming from, and when men are saying, I'm not working hard just to shell all my money out so I can continue to grind while you get to relax. No, it should be a joint effort. That's just my thoughts on it. I want to know your thoughts and how you feel about the conversation. Comment, like, subscribe to the channel, y'all. Chime in. I want to hear your thoughts in the comments below. And guess what? I'll see you in the next one. Bye.
DeeDeesReactions. Tell a friend.